So the major concept with labor advantage is the idea that we want to pay people to produce output versus producing hours. Do you think your workers that you've got there now out on the floor feel that way? Do they feel like they can empower the outcome of the business? Do they feel if they work more, they're going to get more of that slice of the pie in your business? Right? So that's the goal behind labor advantage. Right? So right now out in your operations, you probably have lines per hour, cases per hour, pieces per hour, pallets per hour. You've got these different metrics, right? Would you be willing to pay people for those rates? So if I'm doing put away, would you be willing to pay me for my pallets per hour that I put away? Are there days when they can crush that number? You know, because they get a whole strip load and they can go 15 feet and put it into a big bay versus the next day now that fills up and they've got to go to the back of the warehouse. You kind of need a system that will build that calculation behind it. So moving from cases per hour, lines per hour, we're going to move to time. So as you complete a task, as you walk a foot, as you pick a case, as you bend to get an item from the bottom versus the top rack, you're going to get time to complete that work. But because they hit their cases and they're in cases per hour, they look great, but it's just not much time. So that's where the labor advantage tool can calculate that. So if you look at a warehouse map, you think of Google Maps, right? Everyone uses Google Maps for directions. How does it know what's the shortest route? Right? How does it calculate the estimated time to get it, right? Everyone uses that. It's pretty sweet. Labor advantage uses very similar calculations behind the scenes. So it knows for every location, so look at the grid up on the ceiling. Each of those is a 2x2 grid. We usually use a 1-foot grid. So as you move from point A, you travel down the X, 52 feet, travel down the Y, 37 feet, right? And now we're going to do vertical, which I know is upside down, so we're actually flip down our feet on the thing. Okay. You're getting where I'm going, right? The Z is the Rubik's Cube. The Z is what comes out of the ground, right? Order time, if you think about grocery shopping again, you're going to have an order time to start an order, right? Now I know where I'm at. I got my XY point to get my cart. I'm going to get my travel to my first location, right? We got that nailed down. Now my pick itself, I've got a location time for, picking out the location, finding location. Then within it, the cube and the weight of the item and the storage medium that I'm pulling from is going to be my pick time. So I've got pick, travel, pick, travel, pick, travel, pick, travel, complete. To do picking, we can do about 2 standards a week. So a typical warehouse is like 15 standards. We do the XYZ. Then we're knocking off 2 standards a week, but it's exact. So now we know what it takes to do most of the big elements of the work out on the floor. We get more labor savings from utilization gains on the floor than we do from a worker working harder. The product, because it gives you full visibility of where every hour is spent out on the floor, you then know where to go get it. We know how much cleaning time we had yesterday, right? We had 500 hours of cleaning time yesterday. We can do that better, right? We can do it a different way. If you have WA and you have Pulse, we can go in with that Pulse and upload Jack Pine dashboarding, right? It's like a day of work, and we just have to make sure that it's all pointing in the right direction. But if you've used Pulse, very user-friendly, very graphical. You can click and hover. You can take an existing report and modify it and save it as a new one. You can share it. But you can see right away who's doing what, right, throughout. Just for size and scale of amount of work to maintain it, sometimes there's some flack on standards, and it's 150 sites. So one person can handle 75 sites a year of maintenance, right? Before we build those production rates, we don't want to put a production rate on a broken flow, right? So during the partner event, I don't know if there's other partners in here, but they had me doing some picking. It was very simple. It was a scan, pick, move, and put to stage. But like all the engineers kind of went after me afterwards because the staging was 10 feet away. We could have moved the staging right next to it. A barcode kept falling off the front. We could have labeled that to it. Right, are you with me? We're engineers. Like this is like where we get excited. But we look to get like 20 to 30% efficiency out of a process before we even put a production rate on it. So we're looking at bending, traveling, walking, redundant activities. One of the things that we do is we come in with our WA expert. This is an actual customer. This was part of a 3-day lean event, and we identified 40 process flows in WA that could be quickly modified to drive process flow gains. We got a 50% gain. The way that we did that was we took a movement of all their items, really quick run. 15 of their items were 90% of their movement, right? Like 15 items was 90% of their movement in their e-commerce. Where are those 15 items? They're spread out throughout a 1 million square foot warehouse. Why? So we took those 15 items and put them right next to the pack desk. Then we took all their single line orders, and instead of being mixed into a batch of 6 orders that get picked at a time with the pick cart, we took all their one line orders and made a super batch. So we took their entire run of their e-commerce, everything that's in the queue, if it's a one line order, it gets batched together, and now instead of traveling the whole warehouse across orders, I'm doing a pick and pack. It's picked and packed. It doesn't even go to packing. We can completely skip the whole packing step and pick and pack and not even move. So when people think labor, they think about the worker and how much the worker gets done. It's not. It's so much of the other stuff. It's the utilization, it's the process flow, it's the time management that you're getting from it, and it starts with that lean process. So the first thing that we do is we do 5 daily habits. So we're staff planning each day, and then 2-hour increments to make sure that we've got the right people in the seat where they need to be. We're maintaining that performance tracking edit. So we talked about the command center. That's really easy to do. It's about a minute per person. Then we do a daily floor walk, where after I review their performances, and by the way, you can do it on a tablet out on the floor as well. So you take that information and you go out on the floor. People want to post performance, right? Is posting performance a good way to motivate people? It might motivate 1 or 2. It's not going to motivate your whole team, right? There's certain people that go after it, and probably because you're in this room, you're one of those 2 people, but the whole rest of the team is not motivated by that. They're looking at where I need to be, so we don't want to post. What I want is a 1 to 2 minute conversation with each worker out on the floor where we review your day. Let's talk about what I did. You can see it. They want to know how they get better. Here's your command center. Here's everything you did. Let's look at what happened throughout the day. And then it's, hey, we did some observations, right, which is the next one on there. We do 1 coaching observation each day. It's 30 minutes to an hour. They dedicate to 1 person. They watch 1 person complete the job. They're looking at safety, quality, productivity. They're looking to see how that person works. I'm a coach now, right? Can you coach a basketball game without watching the game? No, but people do it all the time in warehouses. Let's turn into coaches. Let's go focus on 1 person at a time and see how I did. So if you look at industry norms, we talked about the average site turning on this like -25 to -40. That's it, historical performance. If we're just kind of, units per hour, cases per hour, and our quality of supervision is average. And the goal is to move to the top right corner. So you've got labor advantage deployed with engineered labor standards and individual incentives, getting to that +15. So a quick case study. We presented this last year with a client. They've got 12,000 people, 210th largest private company in the US, 400,000 square foot distribution. They just did a recent expansion, 240,000. They had an old AS400, no incentives, no accountability. They were non-union, but there was some union pressure in the area. It's in a grocery in the Northeast, right? You're going to have union pressure in the Northeast, right? Timeline, we started work in March of 2022. We did lean early on and helped complete out the WA rollout and cleaned up the WA processes quite a bit. Did the process implementation, got WA rolling, hooking from WA to LA. Labor Advantage itself is its own system. That's why you can port it to Edge and 3PL. It's built as a complete standalone system. When you build it with WA, it's typically on its own server. An activity happens in WA, and we build hooks in that Visio process flow. And it's like 6 lines of SQL code. Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, right? About 6 lines of SQL code to create a hook to take that from WA to LA. It is real time. They actually use the ROI from the labor. The person that came in to run operations came from another one of our clients. He's like, I need labor. We need to get WA in now. So they used labor as the muscle to push through the WA go live. So we did the hooking, we built the engineering, selection turned on, so picking turned on December 12th, 2022. After 3 months, selection productivity was up 27%. Hours went down 24%. Cases per hour went up 55. And if you think about standard grocery picking, it's about 150 to 180 cases an hour, so 55 is a big number. And then the cost per hour went up 4.9 because we're paying people more, right? They're getting incentive. Workers are making more, but the cost per case went down 29%. Like, these are real numbers. So they're saving $12,000 a week in that case. Pretty fun.